Welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving into a truly fascinating 2012 study called Mind over Matter. Reappraising arousal improves cardiovascular and cognitive responses to stress. Published in the Journal of Experimental Psychology General by researchers Jeremy P. Jamieson, Matthew K. Knock, and Wendy Berry Mendez, this paper is an absolute game changer. We're going to look closely at the hard data today to see how simply rethinking our physical stress responses can literally transform our biological performance.
Okay, let's quickly map out where we're headed. We're going to journey from the basic biology of stress right into how these researchers set up a really clever experiment. Then we'll look at exactly how they measured the body and mind, dig into the astonishing results, and finally, figure out how you can use this science to master your own stress response.
Let's jump right into the biology of stress. You know that feeling, right? The racing heart, the sweaty palms, that knot in your stomach right before a huge, high-stakes moment?
Well, William James once said, "The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another." And this quote is actually exactly how the authors open their paper. It's a brilliant reminder that for over a century, theorists have suspected that our physical stress isn't just about what's happening to us, but how we mentally perceive what's happening. The narrative we build actually dictates our body's physical reaction.
To really get the mechanics of this, we need to look at something called the biopsychosocial model of challenge and threat, or BPS for short. Basically, this model says our biological reaction to a stressor comes down to a split-second, subconscious calculation. If you feel like you have the resources to handle the situation, you experience it as a challenge. But if you feel completely outmatched and overwhelmed, your brain flags it as a threat.
And the physical contrast between these two states is wild. When you're in a challenge state, your body gears up to tackle the problem head-on. Your blood vessels literally open up. That's vasodilation. And your heart pumps more efficiently. It's like your body is giving you premium fuel. But in a threat state, your nervous system is still fired up, but your cardiac efficiency drops and your blood vessels constrict. It's called vasoconstriction. Basically, your body is hunkering down, preparing for damage, and urging you to run away.
So the million-dollar question is, can we actually control this? Let's look at how the researchers set up a lab environment to see if we can actively choose to trigger that optimized challenge state.
They brought in 50 participants and randomly split them into 3 groups. The first was the reappraisal group. These folks were explicitly told that their physical arousal, the pounding heart, the sweating, was actually a functional, evolved tool to help them perform better. The second group was the ignore external cues group. They were simply told to look at an X to distract themselves. And the third was a standard control group given absolutely 0 instructions.
To create authentic, palpable stress, they put these participants through the Trier social stress test. And guys, this is a brutal gauntlet. After getting their instructions, participants had to give a 5-minute videotaped speech to 2 evaluators. To make it worse, these evaluators were trained to give highly negative feedback, frowning, crossing their arms, just looking super disappointed. Then, immediately after the speech, participants had to count backwards by 7s from 996 out loud while still being stared down by these angry evaluators.
Talk about incredibly stressful, right? But how do researchers objectively capture what's happening inside the body during all this split-second panic?
They rigorously wired the participants up to electrocardiography and impedance cardiography machines, along with continuous blood pressure monitors. They were looking specifically at cardiac output, so how much blood the heart is efficiently pumping, and total peripheral resistance, which measures that restrictive vasoconstriction we talked about earlier. After the stress gauntlet, they also used an emotional Stroop test to test cognitive focus. Basically, this checks if a person's attention gets hijacked by emotionally negative, threatening words.
All right, so we have the setup. Now let's get into the astonishing results and see the hard, clinical data that proves this mind-body connection is very, very real.
The biological differences here are absolutely striking. The reappraisal group, the ones who were taught to embrace their stress as helpful fuel, showed significantly lower vascular resistance compared to both the control and the ignore groups. Their blood vessels weren't clamping down in fear. Plus, that same reappraisal group showed massively higher cardiac efficiency. Their hearts were pumping blood so much more effectively to meet the demands of that stressful room.
The sheer size of this effect is what's really mind-blowing. When looking at the lower vascular resistance of the reappraisal group compared to the control group, the researchers found a Cohen's d of 0.81. Now, in statistics, anything over a 0.8 is considered a massive effect size. It literally proves that just thinking differently about your anxiety physically relaxes your blood vessels in a highly significant way.
And we see another huge effect size of 0.76 for elevated cardiac output. This means their hearts were pumping blood far more efficiently under pressure.
Think about that for a second. Just by reading a short summary before their speech telling them their racing heart was a helpful tool, their biological reality shifted from a panic threat state to a highly optimized challenge state.
But it wasn't just physical. There were massive cognitive benefits too. In the emotional Stroop task, a higher interference score means your brain is getting bogged down and distracted by threatening words. Well, the reappraiser group showed almost zero interference. In fact, they even dipped slightly negative. Their brains simply weren't scanning for danger. Unlike the other groups, their attention was completely unbroken by the stress.
And with an effect size of 0.77 compared to the group that just tried to ignore the stress, the takeaway is crystal clear. Actively engaging with your stress and reframing it as a positive tool is drastically more effective for your focus and attention than simply trying to block it out or look the other way.
So how do we take all this amazing clinical data out of the lab and actually use it? Let's talk about mastering your own stress response in the real world.
The authors wrap up the paper with a powerful conclusion. They state that reappraising arousal shows physiological and cognitive benefits, and that our interpretations of bodily signals directly impact how we respond to acute stress. In other words, the event itself doesn't control your stress response. The narrative you attach to your physical sensations does. If you tell yourself you're panicking, your body restricts you. But if you tell yourself your body is giving you the energy you need to crush it, it optimizes you.
So I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on today. The next time your heart starts racing right before an interview, a big presentation, or any crucial moment in your life, are you going to choose to see it as a threat or as fuel? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I hope you can use this incredible science to master both your mind and your body.